Recording begins mid-breath. Wind, a street somewhere. Outdoor acoustics, open air, distant traffic, the occasional shift of weight on pavement. I need to know if the document changed. That's the objective for tonight. That's it. Everything else is secondary. The point zero document, the one the node produced when the hum stopped, when the brass frame on the far wall of that stone room delivered a single printed sheet, like it had been waiting the entire length of the investigation to do exactly that. Hannah kept it. She was the one holding it when we walked out of 47 Marginal Road for the last time. She folded it twice, lengthwise, and slid it into the back of the map case she carries. Before we separated that night, I made her promise not to open it alone. I don't know exactly why I needed that. She looked at me for a moment and then said fine, and I believed her. That was 11 days ago. In those 11 days, I have not gone back inside the building. I've walked past it twice, once during daylight, once just after midnight, but I didn't stop either time. I wasn't ready to know whether the document had changed. There's a particular kind of dread that comes not from expecting bad news, but from expecting confirmation of something you can't yet explain. And I'd been living inside dread for a week and a half before I called Hannah and told her we needed to go back. She said she'd been waiting for me to call. She said it without judgment, which is the only way she says things like that. Tonight, we're outside the building again. 47 Marginal Road. The door is sealed. There's a padlock on the exterior handle that I don't recognize. Heavy, commercial, a brand I've seen on storage units and construction sites. Not the kind of hardware that was here during the investigation. During the investigation, the door opened if you knew the sequence. Before you knew the sequence, it was just a door, slightly swollen in the frame in wet weather, with a handle that rattled. There was no padlock. There's also a placard mounted on a metal bracket to the right of the door frame. Some kind of municipal notice, white cardstock behind a clear plastic cover. The text is either printed too small or too faded for the available light. I can make out a logo at the top, something official, a seal, and a reference number below it, but not the body text. I'm noting this because someone with institutional authority has taken an interest in this building, and I don't know when that started or what prompted it, and that feels like information that belongs on the record, even if I can't interpret it yet. Hannah says the placard went up within a week of the node closing. She checked. She didn't tell me she'd checked. That's the thing about Hannah. She checks things and doesn't tell me until the information becomes relevant. I used to find it frustrating. I've stopped finding it frustrating. It means she's always thinking several steps ahead of wherever I am, and given what the archive has done to my memory over the past several months, I'd rather have someone ahead of me than behind me. She's taking the document out now. I want to hold it, but I don't say that. She spreads it flat against the stone step in front of the sealed door, under the amber wash of the security lamp mounted above the frame. It's the best light we have. We both crouch down and lean in, and it's different. I need to be precise about this. The first 3 lines are unchanged. I memorized them the night the node closed, standing in the stone room while my hands were still unsteady. Subject convergence, status complete. Node 47 Marginal Road. Those 3 lines are identical to what I remember and identical to the photograph Hannah took that night, which she's now holding up on her phone screen beside the physical document for comparison. The 4th line is not identical. When we left, the 4th line read, location. It does not read that now. Now it reads, location 51.4, and then it stops. Mid-number, like it ran out of something, or like it's not finished yet. A partial coordinate. Latitude, almost certainly I've looked at enough of the grid maps to recognize the format, but it's incomplete. It breaks off after the decimal. Hannah already has her pen out. She's copying it into the small notebook she keeps in her jacket, the one with the red cover that's gone soft at the corners from handling. I'm watching her write. She presses into the page harder at the start of each character, lighter as she completes it, like she's anchoring the numbers before she lets them go. She does this with everything she considers important. I've noticed this before, and I don't know when I started noticing it. I ask her whether the coordinate could have been there when we first read the document. Whether in the state we were both in, after the hum, after the threshold chamber, after everything, we might have simply missed it. She says no. She doesn't say it unkindly. She says it the way she says most things, which is directly and without elaboration, until elaboration is necessary. Then she pulls up the photograph on her phone. She photographed the document in the stone room minutes after it appeared, before we left the building. She holds the screen beside the paper. In the photograph, the fourth line is blank. There is no coordinate. There is no partial number. The line is present, but the field is empty, the same as the withheld registration line we'd been staring at for weeks before the convergence. In the document, on the step in front of us, the fourth line has a partial coordinate. The document updated after we left, after the node closed, after the hum stopped and the building went quiet, and we both stood outside on the pavement, and I think we both believed, without saying it, that it was finished. It was not finished. I'm going to try to say this plainly because I know how it sounds, and I want the recording to be accurate, even if someone listening to it later decides I've lost my grip on things. A piece of paper changed after it was printed. I've stood inside 47 Marginal Road. I've followed the four-step sequence. I've seen my own name appear on a catalog card in a brass slot on the second floor of a building that had no mechanism to produce it. I've heard the hum in the walls get faster when Hannah and I entered the stone room together. I don't get to call this impossible anymore. I gave up that particular defense some time ago. The document updated. The network is still communicating. Hannah is studying the partial coordinate. She hasn't looked up. This is a mode I recognize. She goes somewhere behind her eyes when she's working through a problem, somewhere I can't follow, and she stays there until she's ready to come back. Early on, I would try to say something to bring her back sooner. I've learned not to. While she works, I'm checking the key. It's in my jacket pocket, left side inner, the one labeled 47, the brass one with the worn edges. I've had it since the early weeks of the investigation, found it alongside the ledger, kept it through everything that followed. I keep finding my hand on it without meaning to reach for it. On the walk over tonight, I checked for it 3 times before we'd gone 2 blocks. It doesn't open anything in that building anymore. The node is closed. The door we're standing outside of is padlocked by someone else entirely. And even before that padlock went on, we confirmed in every way available to us that the node sequence had pleated and the building had stopped responding. The hum is gone. I went close enough to the exterior wall last week to press my hand against it, and there was nothing. No vibration, no warmth, just brick. But I can't put the key down. I've tried leaving it on the table at home, and I've ended up back in the same room within an hour. I can't explain this in terms that satisfy me, so I'm recording it as a plain fact and moving on. The key is still with me. Hannah hasn't asked why, which probably means she already knows and has decided it doesn't require discussion yet. The fragment is latitude, northern hemisphere. 51.4 puts us somewhere in a band that runs across southern England. Northern Europe, parts of Canada, that's still a very wide range. I need the longitude to do anything useful with it. But here's what I want you to look at. On the southern node grid map, the copy I made before we left, not the original, there's a section I marked with a question mark because I couldn't identify the symbol at that location. Not a crescent, not a parallel line, something else. I put a question mark and I moved on because we had other things to resolve. That symbol sits at approximately 51.4 degrees latitude on the grid scale I was using. I think the document is pointing at the same location. I think the coordinate, when it finishes, is going to match that symbol. I ask her why the document isn't finishing, why it stops mid-number. She says she doesn't know. She says it might be conditional. The system may require something from us before it releases the rest. Registration, maybe. The same way the 47 Marginal Road node withheld the .0 location until we completed step 3. The network may be doing the same thing at a larger scale. I ask her what registration at this scale would even look like. She says she doesn't know that either. I've been looking at the document while we've been talking. I want to record this precisely because I'm not certain I'm reading it correctly, and I want to have said so on the recording before I say what I'm about to say. There is a fifth line. It was not there when Hannah unfolded the document. I am certain of this. I was watching. The document had 4 lines, 3 complete, 1 partial, and now it has 5. The fifth line appeared while we were talking, and I did not see it appear. It is simply there now, below the partial coordinate, in the same typeface as the others. It reads, "Investigators confirmed." 2, I read it aloud so Hannah can hear it. She leans back over the document. I watch her read it twice. The second time she reads it, her jaw shifts slightly, which is the closest thing to visible surprise I have seen from her in this entire investigation. She says, "That's us." I say, "Yes." She says, "It knows we came back." I say, "Yes." We stay with that for a moment. The building sealed behind us. The padlock. The municipal notice we can't read. The document on the step between us confirming that whatever the network is, whatever it runs on, it registered our presence here tonight without us doing anything except standing outside a locked door and looking at a piece of paper. Hannah said something while we were sitting with it. She said it quietly, almost to herself. She said, "If the document is changing while we're standing outside the system, then entry may not be what matters. It might only require attention." I don't know if that's right. I'm not recording it as a conclusion. I spent months believing physical presence was the mechanism, that you had to be inside, following the sequence, handling the objects in the correct order. The records room, the stairwell, the second-floor registration, the southern node junction. The sequence felt like the point of the whole thing, but the document updated while we were out here. 11 days after either of us last crossed that threshold, with a padlock between us and everything inside. We came back and looked at it, and it changed. If Hannah's theory holds, if attention is the actual mechanism and the sequence was only ever the system's way of registering someone new, then I don't yet understand what that means for how far the network's reach actually extends. I'm leaving it as a question. I don't have enough to call it anything else. Hannah is pointing at the document again. The page had not finished updating. I did not notice it at first because the change was not dramatic. It was not a correction appearing over existing text or a new paragraph above the established lines. It was something forming slowly below the original document frame, below where the print ended in what I had taken to be the blank lower margin. Not printed ink. Something different. Embossed lettering pressing up from the paper itself as though the document were 2 layers and the second layer was only now becoming readable. Hannah crouched lower, studying the bottom edge of the sheet. "That wasn't there before," she said. No. Another character surfaced. Not a sentence. A label. The format matched the lines above, the same field structure, the same spacing. Subject existed on line 1. Status on line 2. But this was a new field forming in what should have been the margin. "Hannah," I said. She didn't answer. She was watching the letters the same way you watch a photograph develop, waiting for the shape to resolve into something nameable. The first character finished forming, then the second. She inhaled once through her nose. "That's not a date," she said. "No." The paper pressed outward again, a slight physical rise in the surface like something underneath was pushing through from the other side. Another character forced itself up. The label finished forming. Node, the colon sat there. Below it on the next line, new characters were beginning. A location field, a second node, printing itself into a document that should have been complete 11 days ago in a sealed stone room inside a building neither of us could currently enter. I reached into my pocket and closed my hand around the key. Hannah leaned toward the frame. The page shifted, a single sharp movement, like something beneath it had pulled.